Our reverse grip skull crushers are a strength move for those triceps, for the back of the arms. We're also going to be working a little bit more of our grip and our forearm strength on this exercise as well. So we're going to come down onto the floor, grab those two weights. We're going to roll back onto our back with those weights right up above us, kind of in position like we would for a normal skull crusher. From here, we're going to rotate those palms to where they're now facing up towards our head. We're going to keep that grip nice and tight, keep those elbows pointed toward the ceiling as we slowly lower those weights on down right to the outsides of the head, keeping those elbows up and then extending straight back up to that starting position at the top. You're going to want to go a lot lighter weight on this one than you would with a normal skull crusher because there's a lot more concentration, there's a lot more forearm and grip strength on these ones, so go lighter. You can perform these down on the floor, you can perform these up on a bench, it is up to you. So, biggest mistakes made on this one. Number one, not keeping the wrist in line with the rest of the arm. And what that shows us, if that wrist is collapsing, it shows us that you have weaker wrists and weaker forearms, and we need to work on our grip and our wrist strength before we can progress up in weight. So what that looks like is instead of coming down like this, and notice how my wrists are staying in line with the rest of my arms, as I lower, my wrists kind of collapse over like this. So what that's going to look like with the weights is instead of coming down like this, watch those weights, see how they're staying in line. Instead of doing that, I'm collapsing on down like this. My wrists are curling and I don't have the strength in my wrists to be able to keep them in line with the rest of my arms. So I want you to drop down in weight if you find that that's the case, because we're only as strong as our weakest point. We want to strengthen up those wrists before we progress up in weight so that they are going to be matching the rest of our body. They're not going to be a weak point for us. So that's the number one biggest mistake. The number two biggest mistake, very similar to what you would see on a normal skull crusher, is those upper arms moving. So those upper arms coming back like this and coming forward. Remember, this is a tricep exercise, an isolation exercise for those triceps. So try to keep those elbows pointed right to the ceiling as you really bend those arms and then extend back up here. That way we're going to be isolating those triceps as best as possible and not getting that upper back and those lats and shoulders involved in that movement. So key things to remember: slow it down, make sure that you are grabbing a lighter weight than you would for a normal skull crusher. If you've not done normal skull crushers before, go watch that demonstration video, get comfortable with that movement before progressing to these, and then focus on keeping those wrists in line with the rest of the forearm and keeping those elbows stationary and pointed towards the ceiling.